Hello and welcome to a competition announcement video. Yes, I'm going to be hosting a competition, and what better way to start it than with something I'm sort of familiar with. So, your task, if you're going to enter it, which probably not many people will, but yeah, will be to build a sort of 90s fun car. Sort of something sporty, practical, but something still usable as a daily driver. Sort of anywhere from your various hot hatchbacks of the 90s, there are a million to name, Golf GTI for example, to your bigger things, Honda Integras and Nissan 200 SXs, to even bigger things, Subaru Imprezas and even BMW 330i's. All those sort of things are eligible and likely to do well in this challenge. So anyway, let's get on to the rules and scoring. So here's my demo car. Isn't it a looker? Not. I tried, but I really can't design sort of things that aren't angry hatchbacks or track cars basically, so here you are. It's got a whale-tail spoiler, so that's good enough for me. There we go, that's an example, Cosworth RS. But yeah, this is the kind of thing you want, only don't make it look this terrible. Anyway, the goal is to have something practical, fun to drive. So basically you should be aiming for the fun, the pony, the family sport demographics. I won't be judging off these, but that's sort of the general area. So if you're way off and you're in like utility, you've probably missed the mark a bit. Sort of, yeah, this row by here and by here. You should, if you're not hitting any of these, you should probably have a rethink. Anyway, first of all, let's just go through the rules. So, the car must be 1997 or earlier. Same goes for the engine. Then, for the engine, production units must be below 40, and engineering time must be below 38. There's a decent amount of wiggle room here, I think, for doing some creative things. But at the same time, it's not sort of ultra go out there, spam quality and do all of that business. But I still think there's room for a fair amount of creativity if you want to do something a bit off the wall. Next, fuel type must be premium 95 RON. This is going to be sort of aimed for the European market, so yeah, 95 RON premium fuel, or whatever that is in AKI. I don't use it because I'm not insane. Next is the catalytic converter. You must have one, that's it. No restrictions on which one you want. Maybe you want to save a fair bit of money by going for a standard 3-way and also suffer a bit of power loss, but there is, well, mainly in terms of production units actually, but still, it's definitely nice to have a bit of spare production units that you could invest quality in elsewhere. Then onto the car itself. Production unit for the car must be below 90, so that still leaves a fair amount of room for you to do some weirder things to it. Maybe you want to make some kind of all-wheel drive rally car, or maybe you'd prefer to cheap out here and there. No, well, this is a bit too expensive. I blame the multi-link rear suspension. I went full Nissan Skyline or Primera. Oh well, can't think of what else actually used McPherson and Multilink back in the 90s, but yeah, I don't know, if you cheaped out there a bit, you could probably make it work. Then in terms of engineering time, it must be below 35. Next, minimum of 4 seats. More obviously high practicality is always welcome. Next, safety must be above 35, and that's about it. There's no benefit for having over that, so yeah, maybe. Well, not down to -15, but yeah, if you sort of get the idea, I'm not going to mark you down for that. Because, well, actually this is rather safe for the time in terms of these, so that's good. Anyway, then on to the scoring. I am scoring these cars on a scale of 1 to 10 for categories that I think are important, and 1 to 5 for categories that I think are less important but still sort of needed for the car. So drivability and sportiness will both be rated 1 to 10. The best car will be rated 10, the worst car will be rated 1. All the other cars will be somewhere in between, depending on how well they did. Obviously, if there's a big gap between the first car and the second car, maybe the first car will get 10, the second car will get 8 or whatever. I don't know, we'll see. Then comfort will be on a scale of 1 to 5, less important but still fairly valuable. So, you know, if it's a daily driver car, so that's being rated there. Next is practicality on a scale of 1 to 10, because this has got to be a usable everyday car. Fuel economy is rated on a scale of 1 to 5. I'm not sure how well we'll do here. Maybe we'll have someone that goes full eco meme and completely ruins the scoring. Who knows? Then reliability is rated on a scale of 1 to 5. Again, price is on a scale of 1 to 10 at a 20% markup. Just to sort of, you know, simulate what kind of price these cars would actually be at. You know, to a degree at least. I mean, obviously something more upmarket like a BMW would probably be a bit higher, but it's just sort of a bit of markup. It does also push up the more expensive cars a lot more than cheaper cars because it's at a percentage. Next is service costs, which are here. Obviously, lower better. You want to try and save money there if you can, but it is only on a scale of 1 to 5. Next is styling, which is on a scale of 1 to 10. I think I'm just going to go on general looks on that. Sort of what I think of the car. Does it really suit it being something kind of sporty? And then obviously what kind of car it's trying to be. Obviously if you're trying to be something a bit more upmarket, sort of more on the BMW end, I'd expect it to look a lot more high end than say like someone making a Golf GTI sort of style thing. So yeah, build or design the car based on the kind of budget it's at, if that makes any sense. Next is realism, so sort of how likely it would be to be a real car. So obviously if you build some sort of V16 carbon fibre thing, if that's even possible in these limits, I haven't tested the extreme ends, but if you do that, then you will get marked down on that, just because it's not really sort of likely for a mass-produced car, especially considering these would be based on sort of more normal everyday sort of cars. But on the other end is a score for uniqueness or quirkiness, like realism. They'll both be based on a score of 1 to 5. But uniqueness will be sort of how different is it to the selection of cars that you had at the time? What makes it unique? Does it have sort of some really weird design choices, or some sort of, you know, oddball choice that sets it out from the real life choices that you had? So, you know, possibly researching into what sort of cars were on sale at the time could help you. Realism will also be scored based on styling, how realistic it is for the time, and then uniqueness again will take styling into account. So unique looking car may score well there, but yeah, make sure it's a good unique, because if you go full Underground 2, then you may not score as well. Next is the fun factor. This will be scored on a scale of 1 to 10, and will basically just be how fun it is to drive in BeamNG. I will be turning off all traction aids and stuff for that, but yeah, just sort of seeing how nice they are to drive in Beam, not necessarily how fast they are, or you know, how good handling they are, how many Gs they pull, just sort of how enjoyable they are to drive. But then on the other end of the scale is lap times. I will be taking them up a hill climb course, one of the options at the automation test track map, and just sort of doing maybe a couple of runs with each car and seeing which one gets the best time. This will only be scored on a scale of 1 to 5 though, so less important than the 1 to 10 for the fun factor. Performance is sort of secondary to having a nice car to drive in this. And that basically covers it. There will be a link to a Google Docs document in the description. And then to submit, name your car 97 Fun username, and again for the engine, then just name your trim, whatever the car is, and again for the engine, and then in the description there's a link to a Discord server. Join it, add me as a friend, send me the car, whatever, and yeah, I will then get it and use it and review it, and yeah, don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and yeah, please enter. I really hope this takes off, and maybe I'll do more.